What is happening, guys? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review, and yes, I'm finally back on the internet, and I'm back on YouTube. Man, it has been so long since I've been able to get to this Q&A video that we've been talking about for the last week or so. Obviously, you've probably been following the channel, and maybe me on Twitter, and you've been waiting for this video, so you know that I moved from one state to a brand new state. I just started a brand new job in my career. I'm living in a brand new house, my girlfriend's schedule, my schedule, everything is way out of whack and way out of routine right now. I haven't even been able to really play music with the band, so all these different things are on hold. It's been really hard for me to get to making a video and doing this Q&A. Just life has been really busy. Being an adult has been kicking my ass. It's mostly good things, just so everyone knows, to get that out of the way. It's been really fantastic stuff, actually. So things are rolling. Life is looking really good. Loving the new house. Been in the new room here. You saw me do that one quick video kind of update, and I sort of tested the room a little bit here, trying to get a better lighting scenario, understand the room and the sound a little bit. I don't think I'm doing a very good job. I don't think the lighting on this video is going to look all that great, but I don't have a whole lot of time to make it good for tonight. And I just got sick of waiting. I feel like you guys were waiting for this video. I haven't been back on the internet for a while, like I said. So I was just like, fuck it, man. I just got to get things rolling. Let's get back onto YouTube and do some good stuff. And so that's what I'm doing. So that's enough boring information about my life. We're just going to shoot the shit about some video games. That's pretty much what we're here to do. So I put the call out a couple weeks ago to send me some questions for another Q&A. As per usual, you guys freaking rock. Sent so many good questions. Really excited to be able to do a whole bunch of these. I'm going to try to make this faster than my normal Q&A video, but as we know, I typically fail. But we're going to try to run through these as quick as I can. Thank you guys again so much for all of the great questions. I had a bunch on YouTube and a bunch on Twitter, and it was really great. So I'm kind of pooling from both places a little bit here. So we're just going to get right into the goods. We're going to start off with a question from Joey Jojo 1. So, awesome name. What's up, man? Never heard from you before on YouTube or Twitter or anything, so I don't know how long you've been a fan, but thank you so much for watching and sending in what will be the first question for this evening. So, Joey Jojo 1 asks, would you like the idea of whenever the next Smash comes out, or if they make more DLC, which they basically said that they won't be doing that they bring in Elma from Xenoblade Chronicles X? I think it would be a cool addition, and a nice time to show off features of Xenoblade like the Skells. So the quick short answer is yes. Obviously, I think Elma would be a super fantastic addition. Shulk sort of breached the Smash Brothers ground a little bit, being the first Xenoblade character getting into a Smash Brothers game, and they include the something, whatever the planes are, Gamoran Plains or something, whatever the name is. We got the plains background, one of the maps from the original Xenoblade. Elma's a great character. She's one of the only characters you actually get to attach to through the narrative, because the character you choose doesn't really have a voice or much to do or say. You have a couple of decisions and conversations here and there, and that's about it. So she's your real link to that story in Xenoblade Chronicles X, and she's an awesome character. She'd be a great fighter in addition to all of these realistic characters that keep coming into the Smash Brothers universe. I feel like it's a pretty safe bet that her final smash would be to get into a Skell and just devastate, kind of like the Landmaster for Star Fox or Falco. So yeah, I think that would be great. They could pick a lot of different awesome locations for a stage as well. But again, they basically said Bayonetta and Korn were the last additional DLC characters for Smash Brothers for Wii U and 3DS. So I don't think we're going to get it for that game. It would be probably something that we would see included in the next Smash Brothers game. Whether she would be a starting brand new character or she would be DLC down the road. So that's what's going on there. But, in essence, yes, she's a great character. I'd love to see her in Smash Brothers. So thanks for the question. Chronoflation, one of my best and most avid followers on Rule 2 Review. What's up, buddy? Thank you so much for the question again. He, just like a lot of people, mentioned a lot of awesome, props and stuff about the move and the career change. A lot of people said great things about that, so he said good luck with all these things. He says, I'm going to go back to a question I asked a while ago and ask what game mechanic that you've experienced as a minor feature, or even that you just have an idea for, would you like to see be utilized as a main gameplay style or function in the future? And he goes on to clarify, which really helped with that question. He says, personally, I'm all about the negative zone. The negative zone Final Smash Luigi had back in the Brawl days. A color-based area of effect superpower that changes up the physics of a game. Yes, please, he says. So I totally get where you're coming from there. He's a big fan of, the negative zone that Luigi had in Smash Bros. Brawl and would like to see a whole game based around that. So this was kind of tough because I was thinking about all the different games that I thought would, had different little quirky ideas that I would maybe want to see built upon in the future. It was kind of hard. So the best thing I could actually come up with for myself was a location from one of my favorite games that I felt was so vast and epic that it could be its own game, and that is going to be Elysia from Metroid Prime 3. And Elysia was the sky town, if you remember, with all the floating platforms, had kind of a steampunk sort of vibe, and Samus is using her grappling hook to kind of follow the paths along between the big floating platforms, and you take the big elevator thing to a whole nother one. The look and feel of that location is one of my favorite in a video game ever. And for some reason, the way you just barely kind of scratch the surface of what that sky town is like in Elysia in Metroid Prime 3, all it left me was wanting more. Because you can see, you have these selections of platforms you get to move between, but there's also, you can look in the distance at any one time or place, and you can see huge, floating platform cities way off in the distance, like way, way far off. And you can even look down on the surface of the planet, and you'll see all this inclement weather and like these spinning tornado things on the clouds below you. And you'll even see like cities and lightning and storms and stuff off in the distance on the ground of the planet. You can just see all this like teeming life that you could just sort of picture in your imagination way off in the distance. And that's the stuff that gives me tingles in video games. I love those kinds of epic scope views. So with Elysia, combined with the steampunk look and the freaking fantastic music, that is just a place that I feel, just like the previous Metroid games, you could spend a whole game on. Remember, Metroid Prime 3 is the only Metroid game, period, ever, where you go to more than one planet within the same game, even of the 2D Metroid games. So, Elysia, Skytown, and Elysia from Metroid Prime 3 easily would be a location or an idea from a game that I think could be expanded into its own complete game. So, awesome. Thanks so much for the question, Chronoflation. Next question comes from Shoot3347, and he or she asks, what is the Rule of 2 review? So, excuse me, that question could actually be, it could be one of two things. They could be asking me, what does the name of the channel Rule of 2 review mean? Or maybe they're asking me what the actual Rule of 2 is. And I'm going to try to give a quick answer to this because I've sort of answered this before. The name Rule of 2 review for the YouTube channel comes from, it's a Star Wars reference, referencing the Rule of 2 review. Or, sorry, the Rule of 2. Rule of 2 review is the channel. It's referencing the Star Wars reference of the Rule of 2. Now, the Rule of 2 is what was created by Darth Bane, and that was what said that there can only ever be 2 Sith at one time, which we all remember from The Phantom Menace, where Yoda and Mace Windu say only 2 there are, a master and an apprentice. And that was something that Darth Bane put in place thousands of years before Episode 1. And, there used to be hundreds and thousands of Sith that existed at a time, and it was just this big army. And there was so much infighting and usurping of power that Darth Bane was the one who was like, oh, hell no, we got to stop this shit. And he implemented the Rule of 2 review. Or, God, I keep saying that every time. It just rolls off my tongue. He implemented the Rule of 2, which basically said, screw all these extra guys. Only 2 is all that's needed to take care of business at the end. So when a couple years ago, 2010, I started a website. And I needed a name for it. It was a movie review and video game review website, just my own little kind of pet project. It was a WordPress site 6 years ago. And when thinking of a name, Rule of 2 Review just popped into my head. Rule of 2 is a Star Wars reference. Rule of 2 Review is reviewing things, and it's a good nerdy reference that just is all-encompassing, so that's what I did. We turned that into a bunch of podcasts that were on iTunes, then I took a break, and a couple years later, I wanted to bring Rule of 2 Review back in some fashion. That's when the YouTube sort of community was getting even bigger, and I was like, maybe I could bring Rule of 2 Review back, leave the website and the podcasts behind, and just make it a YouTube channel, and eventually I figured out a way to do that, and here we are. So hopefully that answers your question. That's what the Rule of 2 Review, that's what the Rule of 2 is, and you know where the name Rule of 2 Review comes from. And I got to move on from that shit because I keep confusing the two. So thank you for the question. And Player Essence, my man Francis, who I know, Francis, you go by OJ nowadays. I don't really know when that happened. I think a couple months ago. Not quite sure where that name comes from, but I still think of you as Francis. So Francis/OJ from Player Essence asks me, he says, moving absolutely does suck. You are correct, man. Oh my gosh, it's the absolute worst. But it is great when you get settled in. He said, question, what are your keys for the Nintendo NX to succeed? All right, the Nintendo NX questions. There's quite a few of these. Obviously, it's the big thing that everyone wants to talk about. So he asked me, what are my keys for the Nintendo NX to succeed? So a couple of things. One of the most important, if not potentially, secretly the most important thing, marketing. Marketing, marketing, marketing. Nintendo, you got to get your marketing shit, like, together. Because you just have struggled with the Wii U in particular. And, I mean, we all know that early marketing problems in the Wii U's life are one of the things that led to it really not gaining steam, and early criticism and the slower sales, and now here it is not doing so well. And we know that we're at the end of the Wii U's life cycle because the NX is coming soon. After time, Nintendo absolutely did fix their marketing, and it did get better throughout the Wii U's life cycle without question. But the early mistakes just caused confusion, and people didn't know what the hell was going on. They didn't know what a Wii U was. Nobody frickin' bought the thing because the advertising sucked. And what advertising was there was terrible. There wasn't a lot of it. What was there wasn't good. So Nintendo needs to come out of the gate swinging with marketing. Really, really good stuff. Market all over the place. Different demographics. Make some shit happen. The other obvious one that I don't think we'll have a problem with are the games. Obviously, the games are the most important thing to any console from any company, and especially Nintendo, because they're the ones that house the most important and most long-running first-party franchises. So we know we're going to get great Zelda games, Mario games. We're going to get Pikmin 4. Maybe Star Fox moves over, Splatoon 2. Maybe Metroid comes back. I mean, we're going to get so many great games, first-party, and probably some third-party games as well. We're going to get those things. Nintendo will bring it with the games. They do it every time. Another one that people aren't talking about as much, an excellent, modern, powerful name. We got to drop the Wii brand. I think everyone and their mother expects that Nintendo won't name the NX, that once we get the final name, that it won't be anything relating to the Wii. I just can't imagine they would do that. So the name has to be something that grabs people. It's got to be very powerful. It has to be very marketable and brandable. So Nintendo, don't F up with the name like you kind of did with the Wii U. And a couple of other quick things. Third-party titles. I think that it's fair to say the third-party titles, whether those are, exclusive or multi-platform games, we need those things. Nintendo, everyone can say Nintendo doesn't need them, and that's basically true. I've agreed with that before. Yes, Nintendo can survive without third-party content. They're the only company I think could, but I don't think they should have to, and I think that if they can fix that and get a lot of quality third-party stuff, and gamers know they can get that on Nintendo's platforms alongside the Zeldas and Metroids and Marios, it's going to be great for them. It's going to see success, and we'll get great games on Nintendo's platform, which us Nintendo first gamers want. So that's what I think they need. And this is also going to be controversial, but quality graphics hardware. It's just got to happen, you guys. Like, no, graphics don't make the game. They don't make the platform, but they certainly help. And especially if you look at the larger demographic, the larger gaming audience, newer generation, newer hardware means people expect to see newer visuals. And you know what? I'm no graphics whore, but I sure like pretty graphics. And I would like to see the Nintendo NX come out with the best visuals possible, because it would just be awesome. Great graphics are great. Are they necessary? Not really, but they're expected. It's 2016, 2017. The NX should have the best graphics capability without question. So those are my quick ideas on what the Nintendo NX needs to succeed. So thanks, Francis/OJ, for the question from Player Essence. Of course, subscribe to Player Essence. If you're subscribed to me, you're not subscribed to Player Essence, you're crazy. You should definitely do that. Michael Kelly, one of my oldest YouTube followers. What is up, homie? Always asking good questions and commenting on the videos. Good to see you back. He references the move, and then he says, what do I think of the supposed rumor of Star Fox Zero being in development hell? He personally thinks that none of it's true. So, very timely that I'm finally making this video today. I don't know when I'll finally get it up. Hopefully tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. But this today that I'm recording it is the day where earlier today Nintendo announced a new Nintendo Direct for tomorrow covering spring and summer games already announced for 2016. So this is a couple of days coming off of the 5-minute Pokemon Direct they did too. So, with tomorrow's Direct, everyone's waiting to see, these rumors have been popping up and becoming more and more common the last week or so that Star Fox is going to get delayed because there's more issues. So tomorrow, during the Nintendo Direct, we're going to know the answer. So I happen to be recording this a day too early. I don't know that I have an answer on whether I think it's true or not. I mean, I feel like we would have probably already heard about the delay, but then again, tomorrow's going to be March 3rd. It's a month and a half before the game is going to launch. That's probably a pretty good time to let people know, hey, I'm sorry, we got to delay it one more time. The thing is, if Nintendo doesn't delay it, then I know the game is ready to go, because Nintendo, and especially Miyamoto, won't release a huge first-party franchise like the Return of Star Fox in a shitty condition. They won't do it. If they do delay it, it is going to make me feel just as well, because it means they are absolutely busting their ass to make sure that without question the game is in good shape, and they would never even possibly consider releasing it in bad shape. So A lot of movement going on with Star Fox. We won't know more till tomorrow. So it's a great question. The fact that I had to wait a week to record and answer it kind of messed it up because it happened to come at a time where we know the Nintendo Direct tomorrow will give us that answer. So tomorrow, we'll either have confirmation Star Fox is still coming out on time, or we'll have confirmation it's going to be delayed. So I guess we'll see. But thanks as always for the question. Justin, known previously as 9 to 5 Gamers, now known as Inner Black Ninja, asked me, what's up, another good friend, another fantastic channel you should subscribe to. He asked me what made me get into gaming consoles, to gaming/gaming consoles. This is story time, LOL. Yes, it's story time. But the fast version, I'm trying to do everything in the fast version here, is, I was born in 1980. I'm 35 now. So I grew up my first couple years when I was 3, 4, 5 years old playing on our Atari 2600. And I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And then I remember in 1985 or 6, so I would have been about 5 or 6 years old, one of my older brothers finally came home with the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, which I remember seeing commercials for and just going crazy over. And he had Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, and he had The Legend of Zelda, the only 2 games that mattered at the time. And I remember the commercials for The Legend of Zelda. I've talked about this before with the never-ending adventure for your Nintendo Entertainment System. And that concept just blew my 5-year-old fucking balls off. I was like, what never-ending gaming? It is impossible. And it sort of was, and I just thought it was the most epic thing, and I was that perfect age for the NES to come home. I was 5 years old when the NES finally graced my presence, and I had been gaming on the 2600. And I saw the colors in Super Mario, and I got the grand scope of the adventure of Zelda and all the magic and everything going on, and it blew my mind. Fantastic. And that was the moment. I mean, I was hooked ever since then, obviously. I haven't ever taken a break from gaming since. And because the NES and Nintendo were like the first real huge impact in my life, and that's kind of nerd culture and in gaming, I think that's the real reason they've stuck with me the whole time. Nintendo has always been my favorite. I love and support all companies and platforms, you guys know that, but Nintendo is my favorite for a reason, and I think that that's one of the reasons. I mean, they were the first time I saw what gaming really could be. So that's how I got into gaming, was the NES, when my older brother Jason brought it home one day, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So, Phantom Star, who's a user who I've seen show up on my videos on Rule 2 Review probably the last 6 or 7 or 8 or so months. So, Phantom Star, I don't know, Phantom Star, if you're male or female. But a couple of really awesome questions from Phantom Star. So thanks for being a fan. Thanks for asking some good questions. They're all over the place here. Again, good luck about my brand new career and the move and all those good things. So thank you for that. Phantom Star says, first question is a movie question. Why do I think people hate the Star Wars prequels so much? Me personally, I love them. While I see some flaws, I can't find where all the hatred is coming from. What do you think? Wow, this is a question, great question. Absolutely happy to talk about this, but it almost deserves its own 25-minute video for me. But if I was to do the quick version, primer, for anyone who doesn't know, hugest Star Wars fan, just covered in Star Wars tattoos. You got a signed Empire Strikes Back poster back there. I mean, I can't even tell you what it means to me. I love all 7 films. I think George Lucas is one of the most brilliant storytellers and filmmakers of all time. I don't care what any of the motherfucking haters say. I love George Lucas. I love Star Wars. Not everyone loves all those things, and that is totally fine. But there is, of course, a vocal minority. Let's focus on the word minority, because despite what the last decade of internet forums and internet comment threads might tell you, there actually are far less people and fans in the world who dislike the Star Wars prequels than those of us that love them. I promise you that is 100% true. However, vocal minorities always stand out more. So, because of that, there are a lot of people that don't like the Star Wars prequels. And you know what? That's fine. That's totally fine. There's also a lot of people that get fucking down on Return of the Jedi, which is a masterpiece. So don't even get me started on those sons of bitches. People who only like 2 out of this, or 2, and then there's people who hate The Force Awakens. There are people who literally only like A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. 2 out of now 7 Star Wars films. And those people will lobby the most hate against anyone else who has Star. It's ridiculous. Those people think they can tell people what Star Wars is about. Anyway, people don't like the prequels. That's what we're getting down to. A lot of people don't like the prequels. I get it. In so many ways, they're very different than the original trilogy, which is arguably, the best trilogy ever made. There's so much about the prequels that I prefer to the originals, but the original is probably the best complete trilogy, for sure. Empire Strikes Back is easily my favorite of all 7 movies, without question. And Return of the Jedi is right up there. Screw the haters. Whoops, I'm kicking stuff. Sorry, guys. So people don't like the prequels, and they are very different, like I said, and I think that that's why. But you know what? There are so many things about the prequels that are right in line with Star Wars, and that do things just as well, if not better, like I said. And why people don't like the prequels is I really think people weren't prepared for what new Star Wars movies meant. I don't think that they were prepared for what the creator's vision for the continuing story was. And, you know, people grew up with those movies and they're like, and they get it, people get in their heads what something, anything, let alone Star Wars, means to them. And so I'm a Star Wars fan from the 70s and 80s. Star Wars is what I tell myself it is. It's nothing else. It's not what other Star Wars fans think. It's not even what the creator thinks. It's what I think. I will tell anyone what Star Wars is. So when the creator expands upon the lore, when George Lucas expanded and graciously gave us a whole brand new trilogy fleshing out the universe and the characters, people had this tiny fucking microscopic box of what they thought Star Wars had to fucking be. And it didn't fit within their tiny box. And so they don't like it. And I need to maintain for all of you out there who don't like the prequels, at the end of the day, I know I'm getting like heated about it. It's fine if you don't like the prequels. Anyone can like or dislike any movie, and I ain't going to tell you what to feel. But when people compare films within the same series, like Star Wars, I think a lot of people just got so caught up in like Jar Jar Binks is kind of silly, and the acting isn't amazing, which by the way, it's not amazing in any of the movies. They get so caught up with that they can't see all the similarities and the things that just make it great. And it's like the spirit of Star Wars, I think, is lost on a lot of people when they can't kind of see the connections. And at the end of the day, you know what? It's their loss. If you don't like those movies, it's your loss. You're the one who's making your Star Wars universe smaller by liking fewer and fewer films. And these are just my opinions. I don't care if you disagree. I'm glad to hear that you, Phantom Star, also love the prequels. Trust me, you and I are not alone. We are far stronger than the vocal minority that dislikes them. So anyway, I'm going to get off that soapbox. Those are my feelings about Star Wars and the prequels. So great question. I love talking about that. I could go on for longer if you couldn't tell. My second question is a gaming question. What game do I think defines the Wii U as a whole? By that I mean is that the original Sonic defined the Genesis, Mario 64 defined the N64, Zelda Wind Waker defined the GameCube, Crash Bandicoot defined PlayStation, and so on. So I think that a couple of those defining games you listed might be interchangeable within their respective systems, but overall, you make a good point. I mostly agree. And finding a game that defined the Wii U was difficult, but I'm going to settle on a very easy answer, which is Mario 3D World. Because it's like the best reviewing, Nintendo game on the platform. I think Bayonetta 2 or Smash... Well, Bayonetta 2 and Smash and Mario 3D World are like the best reviewed games overall. Mario 3D World sold fantastically, absolutely stellar reviews. Everyone freaking loves that game, and it's like the quintessential 3D Mario game for the system. The only other factor I was considering when thinking about this is like gamepad functionality, because I think that should be integral to the defining game of the system. But, when I looked at great games that use the gamepad like Wonderful 101 or Pikmin 3 or Zombie U, so many great games that use it, Splatoon even, brand new IP, I still didn't think that they fit the mold as well as Mario 3D World. So, agree with me or not, I'm going to go with Super Mario 3D World. And the third random question, just because he says, or he or she says, if an X-Wing starfighter from Star Wars were to engage in a dogfight with an R-Wing from Star Fox, who would survive the battle, who would be shot down? So as much as I prefer the X-Wing overall, just because of what it is and what it represents, I mean, X-Wings are nothing but just standard starfighters for the Star Wars universe. The R-Wing is an especially badass vehicle with a lot of weapons at its disposal, and now we are seeing it's changing and transforming into other things, and it can do all this other shit. And it's just way more powerful. If I had to pick between the two, I think that the R-Wing would win the battle, even though I really love me an X-Wing. So thank you so much for all those questions and giving me a reason to rant about Star Wars Phantom Star. Thank you so much. John O'Daz, another newer follower the last couple of months to Rule of Two Review, asked me question. What would I like to see on the NX in the first year of launch from first-party, third-party, remasters, remakes? Great question. In the first year specifically, it was hard for me not to list everything in the world because you don't want Nintendo to blow its wad. Obviously, I want a new Metroid game on the system regardless. Everyone does. I think that would be a great surprise first year game for the Wii U, but I think we all know that Metroid's farther off. It'd be great to see it. Are we going to get a Bayonetta 3 or a Wonderful 102? I think we might be, and those would be one of those, not both in the first year, but one of those would be a great third-party exclusive first-year NX game. I think Pikmin 4 is definitely going to be an NX game now. I've talked about back and forth. Would it be Wii U or NX? I think it's going to be NX. That would be a great first-year game. I don't know about a new Mario. We probably should give it a little bit of time on a new Mario. I think another new IP would be a great first-year game from Nintendo. Also, what I call relative multi-platform ports. So, at the time the NX releases within the first year, if we can get the third-party situation fixed, I think that Nintendo needs to start getting multi-platform ports of those games. If Destiny 2 comes out, Destiny 2 should be on it. If Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, Grand Theft Auto 6 should be on it. If another Red Dead Redemption, if a Dead Space, Mass Effect Andromeda, Call of Duty, these games need to start releasing alongside the PlayStation and Xbox counterparts on the NX, I think. So that needs to start happening far more often than it has been. And other third-party exclusives. Nintendo's been really good about that the last couple of years, actually, with the Wii U. Hyrule Warriors, Bayonetta 2, Wonderful 101, Sonic Lost World, Devil's Third, a game I like, you know. These things need to continue, so it'd be nice to see more of those in the first year. So that's some ideas I've got there. Thanks so much, John O'Daz, for the question. A very new follower who's been very active on Rule 2 Review, Vampire Rockstar. If you guys hadn't noticed, I do pay attention to who's on the videos and who shows up and starts being active, and my consistent followers. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Vampire Rockstar has been exactly that, a rock star on Rule 2 Review the last couple of weeks. He or she says, oh man, what do I think of the current state of the gaming industry and where it's heading? Awesome question. Very, very deep and involved. So I'm going to make this as simple as I can for the sake of this Q&A video. Mostly, so oh my god, I don't even know what to say. I recently made a 2-part video where I discussed the good and bad of the 8th generation so far, and if it's been a letdown or not, what has it done right, and what has it done wrong. It was a very, very popular, very long 2-series of video. Building on that idea, the thing is I see so much good happening with the gaming industry, mostly because the games are still kicking ass. No matter what anyone says, I still believe in the creativity of the actual final product of the playable video games that we're getting, from the crazy booming independent market to all of the AAA games and sequels and new IPs that are consistently coming that I think are great. There are so many freaking good games on all platforms. PC, Xbox, Wii U, PlayStation 4, 3DS, everything is killing it as far as titles. The most important thing in the video game industry. So I think that that's a trend that's only going to continue. I feel really good about that trend. But obviously there are a lot of bad things happening, like I talked about in the video. The internet is ruining a lot of shit in gaming. DLC practices, microtransactions, broken games that need patches and updates like mad from the get-go, hardware that doesn't work right out of the gate. So many issues happening there, really shitty third-party practices, people picking sides, bullshit like Gamergate, you know, all these controversies. There's a lot of bad stuff happening too. So where do I ultimately see it? I hate to say this, but I'm going to plead the fifth and say I don't know. What I'm just going to do is personally, you guys know me, I feel like I'm a pretty positive dude. So I'm just going to focus on the good, and I'm just going to focus on the games. I'm excited to know that Star Fox and Zelda and Dark Souls 3 and Gears of War 4 is coming soon. You know, I love the fact Scalebound is a new IP that I can look forward to. Splatoon, a recent brand new IP from Nintendo, is badass. I'm just going to focus on all these great things happening in the video game world. To me, that is most important. I can't wait to pick up Fire Emblem. You know, I'm getting Zelda Twilight Princess in a couple of days. Even the remakes are looking really good. I'm just going to focus on the games. The bad stuff is probably going to continue. And sometimes it affects games I love, like Star Wars Battlefront. And I hate to see that. But I'm just going to, you know, I don't know where it's headed. I think some of the bad things are going to continue to get worse, but I'm hoping the good things get stronger so that they outbalance all of the bad shit happening. So that's my quick answer. Great question. That is something I could probably make a whole 15 or 20 minute video on. So thank you so much, Vampire Rockstar, for that awesome question. Next question. I had a lot, by the way, guys, so I'm doing my best to go fast here. I'm actually pretty good. Doing pretty well here. Trakov540 asks me, have I played the game Rocksmith before? Did I skip? I thought I had another question from you, Trakov. Did I miss one? I did. I'm going to go back to this first one from you. Here's what Trakov asks first. Have I thought about doing drum covers on my channel? What do I think of Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater? And finally, do I think Nintendo will present NX at E3 Digital Vendor Press Conference? So, obviously referring to the fact that I am a professional drummer. I have a professional band and performing and do recording and stuff. Been doing that for a very long time. So I would love to do drum covers, but not on Rule of Two Review. I've dabbled in that before. Doing drum covers is very tricky because of how you have to specifically mic and or trigger the individual drums and get a ceiling mic for all the cymbals to capture a drum set properly and sync it up with the click track to a song. And that requires a lot of time and gear that we just don't have. We have a lot of gear, but not stuff to do all that. So I just don't have the time to do it. And even if I did, it wouldn't be on Rule of Two Review. Rule of Two Review is mostly gaming and nerdy stuff. Mike Portnoy is fantastic. He's one of the premier progressive metal drummers for today. I mean, Dream Theater is an amazing band. I'm okay on their new album. You probably know they just came out with The Astonishing. Mike Portnoy left the band a long time ago. Mike Mangini is actually playing drums on the new album. The drum recording, the drum playing, and the production is fantastic. The songs are okay. It's a very unique sort of concept, play opera kind of album from Dream Theater. My lead guitarist and I are debating on. He loves it. I think it's just okay. So, but ultimately, yeah, Portnoy is amazing. There's been newer progressive drummers that I think are surpassing him, but he laid the groundwork for a lot of what progressive drummers are today. So he's amazing. And finally, Nintendo NX. Will Nintendo reveal it at E3? And if they do, will it be digital or press conference? I'm going to stick to my initial prediction. I think they're going to reveal it before E3, hopefully in the next month or two. And I think it will be at a press conference. They may do the opposite of both of those things. It may just be a digital event at E3. Or it could be a combination, press conference at E3, whatever. My gut feeling is it's going to happen before E3, and it'll be at a live press event. They're going to bring everyone together like they did for the Wii U and like Sony and Microsoft did for their platforms when they revealed them. So, great question. And then he also asks, I'll go back to the other one. Have I played the game Rocksmith before? No, I haven't, because I'm only barely okay at the guitar. And what do I think of a music game that teaches you how to play drums, plugging an electronic drum set to console and PC? Excellent. If anything, what the video game Guitar Hero Rock Band craze taught us once it expanded to drum sets is that is a fantastic tool for teaching the physical, fundamental motions and movements of playing a drum set. Not to get too technical, but the way your body has to syncopate within itself and all four of your limbs have to operate independently to operate a drum set, that's the hardest, that's the number one barrier people run into when sitting down in a drum set for the first time thinking, I can do this, and then they sit down and they sound like a freaking jackass. Because your body isn't trained to do those things. And the way that the simple way that the Guitar Hero kind of formula, it's basically a music staff. That track that you're following playing guitar or drums on those games, it's a music staff. And when it comes at you in a time that is relative to the music you're playing, and it tells you what physical notes to hit and play with what hand or foot, it's awesome. So it's really hard for a drummer to play those games because they demand specific things. But if they were to create a learning tool with that concept, awesome. There'd be so many drummers out there, and it's a great way to learn and play quietly, because that's another barrier a lot of kids run into. I ran into this problem as a kid, is it's hard to practice drums because they're so fucking loud. Everyone in the house is going to hear you playing drums, so it's hard for people to have a place to learn to play them. So, great music questions. Thank you so much, Trakov. And yes, I think that'd be a great idea. Okay, Sergeant Mario 101. Not quite sure. I think you're new. I've never really heard from you before, but thanks for the question. Do I expect Nintendo to begin reformatting their Nintendo Direct sometime from now to the end of March? Which now it's the beginning of March. Would I like to see a remaster of Super Mario Sunshine done in a similar fashion to Wind Waker HD for Wii U or NX? I don't know. The reformatting Nintendo Direct question, that's a tough one because I don't really know if they will reformat. They've kind of only given us signs that even since Iwata's passing, I don't know that they're going to reformat it too much. I think the biggest changes we're going to see are just what they include, and that I think they're going to be a little more forthcoming with information. The Iwata-led directs seem to be holding back information a little more secretive on a regular basis, but everything I've seen so far from Nintendo since then, I think means that they're not going to be keeping as many secrets, and they'll be more upfront, which will be great news. A remaster of Super Mario Sunshine? Absolutely. I would love to see that. We've all been wanting that for a long time. I would love a reason to play that again. So please, God, Nintendo, make a remaster of Sunshine. And I don't really care if it's Wii or NX. I mean, I just want to play that game. So SFB, right? Yeah. SFB. Says, good luck with the move. What he or she asks what sort of work I do for a living. I don't want to get too much into that. I will say I work for one of the largest financial institutions in the United States. It's a company that if you're familiar with the United States or live in the U.S., you know this company's name, but I'm not going to say them out loud. But I work in finance. I'll say that. And they recall me talking about my band back in Denver, back in Colorado. Yes, I continued to pursue my music. You're correct. Is music how I earn my main income? Oh, hell no. You don't play hard rock or heavy metal in 2016 and make a living doing it unless you're Metallica. Like, you just don't do it. The rock and metal genre, tragically, in today's day and age, isn't really about earning income and making money. That's something that as the internet and the Napster days kind of put forth a long time ago, it sort of killed that dream for most of us, and it really sucks. It fucking sucks. But you know what? You don't do it to make money, and if you do, you're doing it for the wrong reason, and your music is going to reflect that. And we do it. I've always been doing it because it's in me to play and create and perform music. The end. It's a hobby and an art and a passion I have. I think I'm really good at it. I've been fantastically successful. I've played with some amazing acts. I've toured the country. It's this whole side to me that you guys might not find even kind of strange because you know me as the nerdy fucking guy on the internet. But I've been doing this for so long. I mean, music is my thing. But I have to balance that with my full-time career. I mean, I have a career, so it shit keeps me busy. But that's why I do it. So no, I don't make my money from that. The money that we do make, which we do make money, but it just filters back into the band. Country music and like hip hop and R&B is really where you can make lots of money and do that for a living typically, in the music world in today's age. But independent stuff, folk, light, contemporary rock, and heavy metal, you're just not going to, very, very few acts. Foo Fighters, Metallica, Goo Goo Dolls, stuff like that. Those guys are the ones making a living doing it. No one else really is. So great question, though. Thank you so much. Hopefully I can say this right. Al2Le Kill. Al2Le Kill. Al2Le Kill. I don't know. Anyway, that's a very confusing name, but I'm really glad you asked this question. What do I think about Destiny's plan for the future? I think you asked because hopefully you know I fucking love Destiny. Screw the haters. I love Destiny. What do I think of Destiny's plans for the future? The large update, then new massive expansion, then sequel next year, which apparently is what's happening. Do I think it'll win over those who left it in the past? And what does Bungie need to do to make Destiny 2 a success? Love your videos, he says. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, even though I have no idea how to say your YouTube name. I'm okay with Destiny's plans. I realized a while ago what Destiny really is. And every once in a while, when a game like Destiny does something like this that makes so many other people mad, and justifiably so, I look at it in a different light, and it's the level of enjoyment that I get out of it, how great the package is, how fun it is for me to play, and the fact that I can keep playing it. And you know what? I'm fine with that. So I like the fact that there's consistent updates coming. I got to pay $15 or $20 every once or twice a year. For some reason, Destiny, for me, speaks to me in a way where I'm okay with that. So people have a right to complain, but it doesn't bother me. The large update, then the new massive expansion, then a sequel, I'm okay with that. I liked the first two updates. The Taken King has been fan-freaking-tastic. And you know what? I'm excited for Destiny 2 just because I love Destiny. Will it bring over those who left in the past? Only if information or money spent on Destiny 1 somehow carries over to Destiny 2 and is saving you time and saving you money. If it's a brand new investment, holy shit, they're in for a lot of trouble, and they won't even not only bring in players who left, they will lose new players. So hopefully they don't do that. And that kind of answers the other question, what does Bungie need to do to make Destiny 2 a success? A lot of the work and time and money that we put into Destiny 1 needs to carry over. Will they do that? I kind of don't really know. But we're going to hope that they do. So I'm willing to kind of play the wait and see game on that one because I really want Destiny 2 to be as awesome as I think that it can be. Great question. Thank you so much. Al2Le Kill. That's how I'm going to say it until I hear otherwise. Gilzone, a great, fantastic YouTube, Rule of Two review follower. What's up, buddy? Ask me some questions. First question. If Christopher Nolan, he mentions the director of Interstellar and the Dark Knight trilogy, decided he was going to make a live-action Metroid trilogy, do I think it just as if not... Okay. So I think what he's saying is, do I think it would be just as, if not more successful than the original Star Wars trilogy? Are there other directors that I believe would be better for a live-action Metroid movie? So definitely no way will it be as successful as the original Star Wars. Metroid in film form would never be that successful. I think you bring up Christopher Nolan because his name attached to it would certainly garner a lot of extra success and press and attention and sales and ticket sales. So yes, it would be very successful if Christopher Nolan did it, and it would be freaking awesome. He'd be a great director for it. But no, I don't think there's any way, shape, or form that any Metroid movie directed by anyone would make as much money as any of the 7 existing Star Wars movies. It just wouldn't happen. That's just not Metroid, but it'd be great to see. Who else could do it? I think in different ways, I think Bryan Singer could make a good Metroid movie. I think that Ridley Scott could make a good Metroid movie. And an easy one is I think Steven Spielberg could make a good Metroid movie. But there's also probably some other smaller directors, maybe like a Shane Black or someone who could probably do a really great job there too. So it'd be very interesting to see. Second question, do I listen to Christian metal? He says he has hundreds of different metal bands, but about half of them are Christian. So I don't actively listen to Christian metal because I'm not Christian or religious. I am Jewish, but I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. More power to you if that's it. So it's not like I choose to listen to Christian metal because of the message or the content, but I will say that yes, I do listen to Christian metal in the sense that there are a ton of fantastic Christian metal bands. As They Lie Dying, which no longer is a band, unfortunately, is one of my favorite Christian metal bands. So there's a lot of great Christian metal music out there. I fully support it. I love the fact that nowadays metal can cover any kind of topic, from depressive stuff to happy, goofy stuff to nerdy stuff to satanic stuff to Christian love, I love you stuff that just sounds really evil and mean but really isn't. There's so much shit going on, with metal, and that's just one of the many reasons I love it, and it's my main music genre. So I got nothing against Christian metal. Some of the best metal out there is from Christian bands. So yes, I do listen to it, but it's not for the message, if that kind of answers your question. Final question. He says, I'm a huge Little Mac fan and enjoy playing Punch-Out as well as maining him in Smash. However, wouldn't it be nice for a change if Nintendo decided that in the next Punch-Out game, you're given the freedom to move around the ring, strike at your opponent without having to counter him first, and be able to play as all of the other characters in the series? Do I think the game will sell a lot better this way? So, yes, I think it actually would sell a lot better that way. I think that it's going to appeal to more people and not kind of put it in the Punch-Out box that it's been known as. And do I think it would be good if they did that or nice for a change? Yeah, I guess I think that would be pretty cool. Ultimately, I kind of still wanted to keep the formula that really identifies it as Punch-Out. Changing characters would be certainly pretty cool. We all love Little Mac, but maybe getting some variety there for sure. But yeah, changing it up ultimately would be a great thing. However, I don't think it would help... excuse me. I do think it would help the game sell a lot better that way, but I don't really think that it would be best for the game. As interesting as it would be, I still kind of like it to feel like what makes Punch-Out Punch-Out. But that's just me. So thanks, Skillzone, for all the good questions. You're a fantastic follower here. And man, can you believe... I think I'm at the last question I planned. I know I actually have quite a few more that have popped up since I put this list together, but this is long enough, so I think I'm going to make this the final question. It's kind of a long one. Sorry, my answers are long here. So, last question, and I'm so sorry for all of you who asked questions that I didn't get to, but I just can't get to everyone. Maybe next time we get a chance to do that, but thank you everyone for asking questions. Final one from Spokesman Jeff, who is someone I've never heard from on Rule of Two Review, so thanks for asking a question. You're honored with the final one for today. Seeing as I'm a big Nintendo guy, he would like to know my favorite one game from all of the Nintendo consoles. So NES, SNES, Nintendo 64, GameCube, and Wii. I can also throw handhelds as well. Oh, I didn't even think about handheld, but happy moving and good luck with my career. Thank you so much. Spokesman Jeff. So, my favorite one game for every console. I'm not going to lie, I cheated quite a bit, but oh well. It's my list and I get to do what I want. So, I'm going to name the game or games that are my favorite, but I also have basically honorable mentions for all these. So, we'll start with the NES, since I am an old man who's been gaming since the NES days. My favorite game is The Legend of Zelda. That's okay. There's also not a lot of variety. I gotta warn you guys. These are all obvious, simple answers for my number one games overall, so don't judge me. I'm a Nintendo nerd, so I'm gonna pick obvious answers. There's not a lot of variety. So for the NES, it's The Legend of Zelda. You might think I would say Metroid, because Metroid's my favorite series. And I almost did, but the thing is, I did play Metroid when it was brand new in the NES, and it was amazing. But Legend of Zelda just had more impact, and it felt more revolutionary. And because of the reason I told you earlier when I answered the question about when I got started gaming from Inner Black Ninja, Zelda was like the first big thing I saw, and it showed me gaming could do 1,000 things more than I ever thought before. So the original Legend of Zelda is my favorite NES game. However, Metroid is absolutely an honorable mention. Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link, screw the haters. Awesome, amazing, wonderful freaking game. Zelda 2 is a great Zelda game. It's so good. Double Dragon, played so much of the original Double Dragon. The one and only Contra. Hell the fuck go. How good was Contra back in the NES days? Dr. Mario and Tetris were games that were on the NES. And of course, Super Mario Brothers, all the Super Mario Brothers games, 1, 2, and 3. Those are all amazing games. So NES, great library, very important in my gaming history. Super Nintendo is the obvious answer of Super Metroid, because it's Super Metroid, and it's like the fucking best game almost ever made. Also, Super Mario World, Street Fighter 2, spent a lot of time playing Street Fighter 2 back in the day. First time I ever saw Street Fighter and graphics that looked that good, blew my mind. Contra 3, The Alien Wars, what a great building off of the original Contra. Most people claim Contra 3 to be the best, and it almost is, but I'm still going to err with the first one because it was just so revolutionary, and I played it way more when I was a kid. Of course, Link to the Past is one. Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger. Those were some of the RPGs I played back in those days. I didn't get into the Final Fantasy games, you guys, so I'm sorry for all of you who are yelling at me for not saying Final Fantasy. But Secret of Mana and Chrono Trigger I did play, and those were really great games. So Super Nintendo, fantastic. Now, here's where we're going to get into a lot of games, you guys. Nintendo 64, my all-time favorite video game console ever, Nintendo 64. My favorite game, this was so hard. But it's another obvious, not surprising answer, because it truly is the best game, and it's Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. It is the best game. And I can reconfirm that because I'm going through the 3DS remake, my girlfriend's copy of the 3DS remake right now. I go back and play that on a very regular basis, and that game is so good. And my vision and imagination about video games, I don't think ever got bigger than when I was playing that when it was brand new. I was like 18 years old. And oh my god, we played that game so much, and I didn't even know what to think about the scope of that game. I didn't think it was ever going to be possible to see the things that we saw in that game, let alone a story that was so revolutionary and so well told in the early days of 3D and cinematic storytelling in gaming. And we get like the Citizen Kane right there in the beginning of that era, so fantastic. Some other gems in the Nintendo 64, Wave Race 64, of course, Super Mario 64, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, one of my probably 2 or 3 favorite Star Wars games ever. Turok Dinosaur Hunter, very, very special, excellent game to me in my history. So good, Turok Dinosaur Hunter, the first one, so good. Killer Instinct Gold, we play that game to death. God, I miss Killer Instinct so much. Pilotwings 64, great game. Banjo-Kazooie, of course. Jet Force Gemini, another rare gem. Perfect Dark, a rare gem. GoldenEye. And then what is still my favorite Mario Kart game, Mario Kart 64. So, and a plethora of other great N64 games. At some point, I had to stop the list. Moving to GameCube, this is where I really cheated. I gave it a 3-way tie. Even though my number 1 favorite game of all time is here, I'm still going to call it a 3-way tie because it's like maybe my 3 favorite games of all time ever. So, for the GameCube, my favorite games, Metroid Prime, Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, and Resident Evil 4. Those are those aren't even 10 out of 10s. Those are 11.5s out of 10. All of those games. Metroid Prime, number 1, favorite game of all time. I keep an eye out for another game to usurp that title, and nothing has done it yet. So it all comes down to Metroid Prime for me. Wind Waker, Resident Evil 4, probably one of the most impactful games ever created in the history of video games. Resident Evil 4. It's the reason every shooter exists the way it does today in today's gaming. But let's get into some other gems on the GameCube. Metroid Prime 2, obviously, because I'm a huge Metroid Prime fan. Eternal Darkness, what a great survival horror, unique GameCube Nintendo exclusive. I played that game and it was brand new, and it absolutely was so fantastic. I would love a remaster or a sequel to that game, which we almost got the Shadow of the Eternals the other couple years ago, but crowdfunding is stupid, so the game doesn't exist, and that sucks. The Resident Evil remake and Resident Evil 0, obviously, also perfect 10 fantastic games. A game that is so uniquely important to me. SSX3 probably sounds surprising, but the snowboarding game SSX3 probably a top 10 all time for me, but I don't know. We'll see if I ever put that list together. Super Smash Bros. Melee, of course. Star Fox Adventures, screw the haters. I freaking love that game. The original Pikmin, Luigi's Mansion, Tales of Symphonia, my favorite RPG of all time. Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, great game. Batten Kaitos, Monolith's first kind of Nintendo series that I know of before they moved on to Xenoblade, Batten Kaitos. And another fantastic, probably top 10 game of all time for me, Killer 7 from Suda51, because he's just my main man. So that's the GameCube, and let's move on to the final one and the end of this video, which is the Nintendo Wii. So again, there's not a lot of variety or surprises on my favorite games, you guys. So my favorite game for the Nintendo Wii, not shocking, Metroid Prime 3, Corruption. I preferred Metroid Prime 3 to Metroid Prime 2, even though there are so many brilliant things that Metroid Prime 2 does better than 3. Ultimately, because of things like the music and Skytown and Elysia and the wonderful controls and the weapon stacking of Metroid Prime 3, even though the final boss is kind of a letdown, that's still going to be my favorite Wii game. Right close to that is Skyward Sword, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, and the first Mario Galaxy. So those games are all very special, fantastic Nintendo Wii games, of course. 10s out of 10s across the board. Twilight Princess, you know, the original release of Twilight Princess there, still a 10 out of 10 to me. Galaxy 1 and 2, let's not forget Mario Galaxy 2, which a lot of people consider to be the superior games. No More Heroes 1 and 2. No More Heroes 1, probably top 10 all time for me. No More Heroes 2, just as fantastic. I love Suda51. Xenoblade Chronicles, the original, amazing game. The Last Story, Pandora's Tower, all three of those Operation Rainfall games. Of course, all three of those I do own Day 1 special edition copies of. Donkey Kong Country Returns, which I prefer to even Tropical Freeze. Controversial, I know. Whoops. Controversial, I know, but that's how I feel. Super Smash Bros. Brawl. A game that not a lot of people loved, but absolutely I thought was fantastic. Epic Mickey. No one talked about that game, but I freaking loved Epic Mickey. Epic Mickey 2 was shit on a stick. So disappointing. But the first one absolutely was freaking awesome. And then also Monster Hunter 3, because that's the game that really got me into the Monster Hunter series. And now me and my closest friends today are Monster Hunter junkies because of Monster Hunter 3 on the Wii. So that is going to be it, you guys. That's all the questions that I chose to answer. Like I said, I think there was like 3 or 4 other ones that showed up later in the game that I didn't get to put together for my list here today. So I'm so sorry for all of you who asked questions that I didn't get to this time, but at some point I just got to call it off. This is probably a 40-minute video here just to answer the questions I did do today, but wow. As I said, you guys did so fantastic with these questions. Thank you so much for following and being a fan of Rule of 2 Review. Thank you so much for giving even 2 shits about my opinion and what I have to say about video games on the internet. I love talking video games. I love running Rule of 2 Review. My life is so crazy busy right now. My career is going nuts. I'm really busy at work. My schedule is very crazy. I'm out of routine. Excuse me. I'm barely able to get to any music even right now. And so the band is like, what the hell are you doing, Rob? Are you dead? It's just crazy. I'm in a brand new house in a brand new state. My life is all over the place. But Rule of 2 Review is not going anywhere. I love doing this. I love interacting with you guys. So the Q&As are very special videos for me and very special times. I love doing this shit. You guys are just the reason that I... excuse me. You guys are the reason that I keep doing Rule of 2 Reviews. So it's great to be able to talk to you guys and answer your questions. So, you know, I'm just going to call it there. Thanks for your patience. I guess we'll see what tomorrow's Nintendo Direct brings. Is Star Fox going to get delayed or not? Who really knows? Maybe we get Zelda info. So we're going to wait and see, but you know what? I'm going to try to get back on schedule. So look for some regular, you know, weekly videos coming from myself and Rule of 2 Review in the next couple of days. But until then, thank you guys, of course, for all your awesome questions and support. And this is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.